Hi there, gamers. Welcome back to Cryptic Gaming. Today we're going to be playing Skull and Bones.
Recently asked what my build is on this schooner, and I was also asked what I think the best ship in the game is. Now, that's going to depend on where you stand, what type of fighting you like. I like the schooner. There's a lot of different ships out there you can pick. I want to show you a great build here for everything that you can get in the past right now, and you can find in the game at this moment. Now, at the reset on Tuesday morning, that may change. Understand you have to check Blackwood to see the availability of these things, but right now you're going to be able to get every piece that you need for this build, whether it's Blackwood or through the past. Now, first ship is schooner. I'm going to show you how to find this real quick. If you come in to your map and you tab over to the left 2 spots, you're going to find something called Smuggler's Pass. And when you are earning your SP, it's called a Smuggler Point. When you're earning that, it bases itself off of Infamy. If you've ever played MMOs, we know it as experience points. Same deal. You earn enough of that, you're going to earn a token for every 1,000 you earn. You're going to get a token. Now, if you go and you destroy a bunch of the towers over there in Africa, for every 10 towers, you're going to get a token. And just keep going through doing that and destroying towers, and that's going to continue to give you that. And of course, if you're running those small plunders and things like that, that's going to give you smuggler points as well. Destroying ships are going to give you smuggler points as well. So that's how you do that, running missions and stuff. You can look at challenges. It's going to have some different challenges you can run to earn SP. You can earn tokens and things like that through here. You can do that, no problem. Like I say, I just go and I just basically just run around and plunder. That's the best way to get them, in my opinion. So that's how you're going to do that. Once you spend 45 points in the pass, go ahead and do all 3 tiers. Don't stop, don't halfway do it. You're cheating yourself out of some great weapons and armor if you do. But once you spend 45 points, you're going to get a schooner blueprint. And that's going to give you the ability to build the schooner. So I'm going to go over why I'm using the schooner for this build real quick for you guys. And then we're going to get straight into that build. So the schooner has some natural DPS abilities. It's going to excel at devastating broadside attacks, turning every barrage into an explosive reaction, meaning any weapons you use on a broadside, you're going to be able to get an explosive reaction out of it. Now, you also have this Fury perk, which is going to increase damage to structures by 50%. And so that's going to help you taking down towers. It's going to help you taking down walls. If you want to do some solo farming on Mega 4 Oosten, this build I'm fixing to show you will allow you to do that. Not just in Tier 1, but in Tier 2. And the weaponry that's set up is going to help you deal with that reactive armor as well that heals those ships when you hit them with explosives. So definitely make sure you watch all this all the way through, guys. You don't want to halfway do this build. So it's going to give you weak point damage. It says weak point damage taken by 30%. Is what it's going to increase for 10 seconds. So as long as you're hitting them into weak points, so we're going to be trying to build some of our stuff to do extra weak point damage as well, because it's going to boost that by another 30%. So weapon hits have a 30% chance of triggering Fury on self for 15 seconds, which boosts your broadside weapons damage by an additional 25%. And it also triggers a 700 damaging explosive every 3 seconds within a 100-meter radius blast. Now you can really do some serious damage with that. You also have this volatile perk on here. All weapons equipped on the broadsides of the weapon will deal an additional 20% explosive damage and increase explosive weapons reload time by or decrease, I should say, by 10%. Now, if you're using explosive damage, it's going to increase that by 20%, and you're really going to love this build because you are going to be putting out some massive damage. And of course, Deep Blue is going to help your turning speed when traversing through the seas. We have this ranked all the way up, meaning we've fully ascended the ship. You need to work on that. If you can't get that last ascension stage, it's still a great ship if you have 6 or 7, but you need to really be trying to level your ships up if you're wanting to be competing in the past, especially this or the worlds, the way that they're doing this currently. You probably have noticed if you started playing at the beginning of this first season of year 2 that it seems like things are starting to get a little harder. That's the way Ubisoft does any pass. It starts off easy and it progressively gets more and more challenging as the past season continues on, and we still have about a month left here. So let's go ahead and get to the ship build. That's why we're using the ship, and that's going to give you an idea of why I've built it this way. Now, coming into it, again, you can get this weapon in the past right now, or I'm sorry, not the past. You can get this weapon from Blackwood right now. This is called the Divine Thunder, and I went ahead and I fully ascended this up. And even if you're not able to get it fully ascended, again, this build is going to help you out, and then you can slowly work on ascending it. And I'm going to show you how to build this cannon out here. So you start off and you have what is known as Heaven's Eye. This is going to give you a target's weak point has a 35% chance to summon a devastating lightning strike. So if you hit that weak point, you're going to get 35% chance to summon a lightning strike. Now, we've also got furniture we can put on there to actually boost that, and we're going to show you what that furniture is here in a minute. And it's going to cause an additional 3,000 electric damage. Now, you can also use this lane Cartois. It's going to require a different type of a perk on your furniture, but you can use that if you choose to. Now you have Electric 2, which is going to add 20% of damage as electric damage, and you also have this Piercing 2, adds 20% of damage. It's piercing damage as well. And then, of course, you have the modifications that I've put on here myself, which is going to increase the damage that's already on the weapon by 8.4%. And then I've added the Amplified Electric because I really wanted something that was going to focus in on something other than explosive for this front weapon, and even on my rear weapon. The reason for that is if you've ever went and farmed Mega Fort Oosten, even here in Tier 1, you run into a ship that sometimes comes out. It'll be a sharpshooter, so you need to be able to shoot him from far off, but you also need something that's not going to heal him like the explosive will here with the Lane's Cartois. So you have this delayed imminent doom that actually ends up healing him. So that's why I've switched this over here in this late stage now to the Divine Thunders. Now, over here with the Dardanelles gun, this is a broadside weapon. This does great job against the excuse me. This does a great job against the walls that you're going to run into, the towers you're going to run into, but also against those ships. It fires in unison, which means that it's going to shoot all rounds at the same time. So I do recommend you get used to using this thing. But once you actually take and you fire this at ships, it does a great job. So you're going to have that unison perk on here. You're also going to have Explosive 3, which adds an additional 30% of damage as explosive damage in a 40-meter blast radius. Now, if you don't manage to hit the ship directly, because this is a bombard, it has a blast radius, which is where you're getting the extra 30% damage. But if you remember, the perks of the ship also boosted that damage for the explosives as well. And then we're going to have this dire explosive perk that ignores 11.3% of a target's explosive resistance. So you can actually hit those small ships with this, and it's going to actually cause damage without healing it, unlike with Impending Doom. That's why I went ahead and put the dire explosive on this weapon. It will take down those sharpshooters that heal off of explosive damage because it's ignoring their resistance to it that is causing them to heal. And also, we put a siege perk on here that's going to increase the damage to structures by 30%. Then we have severity. Hits have a 12% chance of dealing additional 97% damage as severe damage. Now, I may roll this one off. I've got 7 rolls left, but it seems to be procking pretty good for me, so I'm not really sure what it is that's causing it to proc so well, but it does seem to be working. So I might leave it on there. I haven't really decided. So that's on both sides. My darts are built the same. And then on the rear, I am using a Bombard 5 because I wanted something that, just in case that explosive is doing a lot of healing, because you can run into a situation where it can get kind of iffy on that. So I wanted to go ahead and build a Bombard 5 out. These are the white weapons that you can get at any point in the game. Now, it does have an explosive 1 perk automatically built into this, which doesn't add a lot of damage, but it's 10% as explosive damage. Then I went ahead and I basically built this into my own Divine Wind design, which has shock, adds 9.6% damage as electric damage. And then we did shock again, adding another 8.4% damage as electric damage. We went ahead and threw a siege on there as well, which helps take out those walls. And then we added the second storm, says all electric damage dealt by this weapon is also dealt to a nearby target, adding a 6.4% damage as electric damage. If you hit a wall and a ship is within range of that, it actually spreads from the wall to the ship and vice versa. So pretty nice little aspect to have on there. And then, of course, I am using the Eye of Heaven currently. Now, I can, at times, switch over and use the little Grace 3. And if I use my little Grace 3, the way I have this built up is it has Repair 2 as the natural perk. We went ahead and added Rapid Reload and Restorative. That's going to restore the amount of severe damage to a ship. It works great for your friends as well. Plus, it has Providence, which is going to send 24.3% of the amount of repairs going to your friends back to you. Now, you can use this in solo, or what I've opted to do is switch over currently to this Eye of Heaven, because I'm seeing more and more of the ships, the sharpshooters, coming in to my second and third farm stages of the mega fort. So what I do now is I put this on. It has Tempest, which every target hit causes a lightning arc to strike the nearest enemy within 150 meters, dealing 2,500 electric damage. Great aspect to have. It does have Blast, which adds 15% damage, has explosive damage in a 50-meter blast. So it can potentially heal some of those ships, but it does a great job against sharpshooters too. So electric damage too adds 20% of damage as electric damage. We went ahead and added burn. I wanted something a little better than the 48 burning damage, but I'm getting down to 10 rolls, and I'm still kind of playing around with what I want to put on here. But we do have the amplified explosives on here, which is going to increase explosive damage. Then we went ahead and put that soul mending on there as well, which is going to heal us for 5% of damage dealt by this weapon. Now, when it comes to the armor, I do choose to use the Ouroboros armor when I am solo farming. For those of you who are wondering, I want to be able to solo farm in case my friends aren't online. I don't have to be relying on people and stuff. Hey, I completely understand that, and that's why I've went with this armor. It does a great job of healing that severe damage. If you get sunk, when you come back, you don't have to go back to port to heal. It's going to heal the severe damage, and then you can just use your repair kit. Great thing. So it does also have Aglemente on there, which is 15% of damage braced is converted to restoring the whole health. That doesn't work as well as what you would think, because 15% is really not that much. It acts more like 1.5% is basically kind of what you're going to get. If you even notice it, it's kind of negligible, honestly, on there. But it's for the severe damage is what you're looking at. Then, of course, on our furniture, I am using the charge doors, which is triggering Stormstruck on a target, increases the next attack damage by 50%. Now, Stormstruck is that effect where when we hit the weak point, we get that 35% electric damage coming back as a blast. You know, we can summon that lightning down. That's the Stormstruck. When you target that, it's going to increase the charge rate of the ablaze on a target as well. And I typically follow up with my mortar that has that burning ability on there as well. And I'll hit that thing, and it ends up pretty much taking them out. Hit the weak point, pop them with the mortar. It's usually over and done with. Unless you're dealing with the level 17 Grenadier, then it might take a few more shots. Now, second farmer furniture we're using is Ramrod Workshop. This is going to decrease the reload time of broadside weapons by 15% and increase the secondary damage dealt by those broadside weapons by 10%. So I do recommend that you put this on there, because it's going to keep those things firing off pretty heavy. Then I went ahead and I put this Amber Station on, which is similar to the charge stores. A little bit different. Increase the charge rate of Stormstruck status effect on a target by 8%, and it increases the duration of Stormstruck status effect on a target by 8%. So this is helping out with the Eye of Heaven. It's helping out with that Divine Thunder in the front and that Bombard 5 in the rear. So I do recommend it putting on there if you're going to mix up some electricity with that explosive, and I highly recommend that you do that, whether it's a Divine Wind or some sort of a Bombard 5 with the electricity on the sides, and you want those explosive cannons on the front and the back. That's cool. It's however you want to do it. This is what I'm currently using, though. Then I went ahead with the Gunner's Quadrant, which decreases the reload time by 15%. For the same weapon used to hit a weak point from at least 160 meter range, the effect lasts for 10 seconds. So this can work for not just your long guns, but also your darts. You get pretty effective with hitting weak points with those. Great stuff. So going to help reduce those reload times. You want to keep the cannonballs going towards your enemies, especially in these later stages. The more shots you can get out, the quicker you're going to be able to sink those guys. So then we have this Breach Lock Furnace. increases secondary damage dealt by up to 30%. The closer the target is, reduced by 3% per 50 meter to the target, increases charge rate of shell shock effect on enemies ships by 7%. Understand, when you're hitting people with explosives, you are causing shell shock charge. Okay, once that's charged up and you hit them with that explosive, it can make it so they cannot fire. That works against the computer, but it also works against other people if you're in a PvP situation. The diffuse fusing station is going to decrease the reload time of the front weapons and the rear weapons by 12% and increase the secondary damage dealt by the front and rear weapons. So again, rear, it's really focusing in charging those electric weapons that we've added on there. The first perk being the explosive one that comes naturally with the bombard, and then of course we've added on that aspect for the electricity, which really boosts this up pretty nice. So I really like this build. It's been pretty great for me. So one of the things I am going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take you out to a location. Again, you can run this in tier 2 if you want to. What I do recommend at this early stage, if you're farming by yourself for the sake of time, okay, meaning you want to be able to get as much stuff done as possible in as short amount of time, that's how you're going to get your pieces of 8 and things like that. Do it in tier 1 if you're by yourself. If you're in there with friends, you can run it, but you're not going to come up here and you're not going to be able to run this mega fort by yourself in tier 2 with any kind of a, getting it done quickly type of mentality. And really, even in tier 1, it's getting to the point where they've really done a good job of buffing it up and adjusting it in, because when we were first coming in with this schooner, it was almost God mode coming in and wiping this thing out pretty quick. So they've done a pretty good job of changing some stuff. Now, this has been buffed again. Like I say, the reason I'm using Ouroboros armor, I need to actually empty my cargo here real quick. I just happened to see that. Always make sure you empty out the things in your cargo that you don't need. The reason for that is you do not want to become over encumbered during that mega fort. And again, you can run, sea monsters and stuff like that with this thing too. Does a great job. Now let's see if we can get up here to the fort and actually get a solo going for you. So I've been asked, how do you do this without sinking? Well, sometimes you sink. It just happens. If you get sunk, you've got the armor on that's going to heal you, but you might not get sunk. So I will come in from the south end. The reason I come in from the south is it gives you a better approach on the walls. Now, there is a situation that arises sometimes where the plunder does not start automatically. Trust me, you're better off on this side coming in because if you come in from the north or even from that western side of the wall, and it starts that on you automatically and it goes to the cutscene. Typically when the cutscene ends, you're sunk. So come in from this direction, don't quite cross into the boundary, take out some of the walls, and then progress toward the center wall, which will be the low broadside wall. And once you start taking that thing out, it should start your plunder. If it doesn't, finish taking the walls out, then start your plunder. Now, if you run into a situation where your walls start healing automatically, you'll be running into the walls, just start popping in. Understand that right now in the game, at least this past week, there's been something broken with the fort. So I've kind of ruled this out of my, solo farming even my team farming at the moment. But we're going to go ahead and show you what you can do with this ship in here, just in case you're wondering. Like I say, I use it a lot. Any video you see, basically I'm going to be in this, usually this ship. I have been in Sambuck in a few of them just because I like using it for, just nostalgia purposes and stuff. You're not going to go into tier 2 and solo everything into Sambuck, unfortunately. It is a, great ship, but it has its limitations as well. So we'll go ahead and hit some of these walls here. As you can see, a lot of great damage coming out of that front weapon as well up here. Now we're going to go ahead and give us a little bit of speed. We're going to continue to pop a few rounds over here at the fort. All right, giving it more speed now. And we're going to aim down here at this wall here. Then we're going to fire off. There's that cutscene I was telling you about. That's why you want to make sure you take out them other walls first. Now, of course, we still have the large tower to contend with. And then we're going to have ships popping in. So make sure that you pop off a few ships here. You're going to have to deal with a grenadier. Keep an eye out for the sharpshooters to spawn. You want to drop down this tall wall, or the main tower turret, as quickly as possible. And you can't do that missing like I just did. Okay, so he's down now. So before we progress, we need to heal. We've got a sharpshooter somewhere. Something just smacked me pretty good. There he is right there. Or it is a broadsider maybe. And it's a level 16, so that is why we want to make sure that we keep an eye out. Okay. Now the level 8, not too big of a deal. Now the north walls are still active, so you're sticking to the eastern side. Okay, so now that that's finished, what we're going to do is we're going to progress. Like I say, you can run this however you want. I'm just showing you how I do it, because I've had people dispute whether or not you can do this solo. I do it every day, multiple times a day. So now I do recommend leaving the cargo sitting there until you get all the walls down, and you get to at the last stage there. But that last wall, once you take it down, then you can pick it up. Otherwise, you're going to end up calling in a bunch of helm rogues as well. So we can go ahead, we can pop this here with a mortar. And then we're going to pop it over here with a bombard. Then we're going to swing around and catch it with that front cannon. Okay, now we're going to catch this wall and then finish it off. And this is the stage where there's typically a sharpshooter that's going to pop in. So we want to keep an eye out. And he usually spawns right straight in here or just over here. There he is right there. That's that level 17. He usually will miss on that first shot, giving you a chance to pop him. Again, healing up. Make sure that you take out the effect on your mast being broke. The large ship is going to block for him on that shot. Like I said, don't get discouraged if he does get it in there. That large ship will block for him, so you have to make sure you don't miss like I just did on that shot. If you can hit his weak point on the back, you will shell shock him and can finish taking him out. So this is going to be the part trying to get the approach on him now. Now you can come across in another direction. Now we do have that status effect of an explosion off that bombard. Again, don't travel in a straight line. You want to try and make it hard to shoot you. Alright. That was the hard part. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the last one you're going to see, because those will sometimes, don't bother with the wall yet. You want to make sure that you're healing up. But you also got to deal with these 17s. And keep an eye out for the healer. There will be a healing ship that comes in. He usually comes in the next stage, but I have seen him early. Again, bracing through his mortars. Okay, we did get some helm rogues pop in. We didn't bother picking up our stuff yet, so it's kind of surprising to see them. Not a big deal, though. Now what we want to do is kind of focus in on this wall. We should have took them out with that shot. Nah, they're pretty close. They should finish off. Did he go down? Yeah, he went down. Now, I've seen some folks use Brick Breaker on this as well. I don't know how well they work against ships, but Brick Breaker works great. That's a culverin that you could use. I don't use a lot of culverins personally. Not that I have anything against them. Oh, I must have picked up that helm. That's what happened is I picked up the reward stash. At Ben's, I got it. We'll go ahead and keep grabbing it. Okay, so now what I'm watching for is ships. Just watching for these ships. Now you can watch your map and see where they're coming from. Which directions. Like I said, we're not done with the sharpshooters yet. There should be another one coming in, and right there. Shouldn't be a 16. He should just be an 8. Still does a lot of damage. Watch out for your broadsiders. They will break your sails. And then that grenadier back there, he will rain some bombards down on you and even mortars. Okay, so there goes that stage. Now what I do is I like to progress over to the front side of the wall here, mainly because we're going to end up with a situation here where we're going to have a few ships come in from the direct north, and I want to get kind of in position, but I also don't want to have to mess around when they do get that where I can hit that wall, because you're going to have to be focusing on that north face while you fight ships. Otherwise it's going to take you forever to get through that stage. Again, hitting those weak spots. Once you get to know the ships, if he'll turn, we can get to the other side weak spots. He's not going to turn. Didn't help him none. So why would you want to do Oosten by yourself? Well, you're better off doing it with friends, but you can run it on your own, as you can see. Now we have our wall here, but we also have a situation we're going to have ship pop in from back here. We're going to get a few shots in on this wall just to go ahead and get things started. Keep an eye on your map in the top right hand corner for as he starts to get close. He's still pretty far back. We're going to make him come to us. You can spend your time chasing after ships, but they will run you ragged. And also you want to keep an eye out around the front side, because you can end up with some helms that pop in on you. Look like we got a couple of ships popping in over here. He's not coming in zone, so not too worried about him. Checking our buddy out back here. There he is. Go ahead and give him a little something to think about. All right, now we can focus on our friend. If you want to call him that. Didn't quite brace it in time. Now, if you're wondering what type of heals I'm using here, or repair kits, I use the Enhanced 2s and occasionally the Enhanced 3 if I take a lot of damage. You're looking at 60-second reloads, so not too bad on that compared to, you know, some of your other stuff. But you can replace anywhere from 50 to 80% of your health that way. And I think we're getting pretty close to maybe one more tier, maybe two. Ah. Okay, then it looks like a helm rogue coming in. Again, these here will give you helm material, so up to you. Usually I try to leave that and I'll collect right toward the end of the thing, but I ended up picking it up inadvertently earlier, so it happens. Now these are sharpshooters as well, but they don't do anywhere near the damage that the MCs do. All right, that completes our plunder, guys. So there is a tier 1 ship for you that's going to do anything you want. Now you can go hit the beasts and things like that with it. Zamaharabu's, which you're going to need those scales for your Ouroboros armor. Going to need some monstrous teeth as well. Where do you get the blueprint for this armor? Well, you need to go to Lenitra, and he's going to sell you the blueprint. You will have to wait for Zamaharabu to come back into the game, though. Now, he's been in here twice, and I do recommend when he comes in that you run it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because when he returns into the mission set, I will be letting people know. I try to let everyone know when there's anything new. I don't make one video for just a 2-second thing, so it will be included in the weekly release. But hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I am going to hop off here and get me some sleep.